Hello, welcome to this video of drawing an apple with graphite pencils by Rajni. We're going to see how to do a gradual tonality using graphite pencils from light to dark, and we're going to employ this in the shading of an apple. Take a good quality of drawing paper and use graphite pencils of your choice. You might want to have an extra paper to create a gradation scale from light to dark. You might also want to try out a few types of lines that you would be using: vertical, horizontal, diagonal, wavy lines, medium lines, dense lines, sparse lines. That gives a bit of tonality. You may want to do some squiggling or scumbling. That also is a kind of circular, eight-shaped scribbling lines or doodling lines that gives you a dense impact, a medium impact, and a low impact of tonality. This helps in shading and bringing out three-dimensionality in drawing an object. So you could practice drawing dense, medium, and sparse lines. This demonstration is about creating a three-dimensional object, not using a shading technique or a soft shading, but using lines. The lines, when drawn diagonally, could be called hatching or crosshairs. You could then go about crossing them, so that would be called cross-hatching. You could experiment with different kinds of holding the pencil in your hands. So when you hold your pencil very close to the lead, it is a tripod grip and it is a writing or a clear drawing grip. When you want to do crisp lines or squiggles or free-form lines, you use a grip which is not exactly a pen grip, that is not exactly a writing grip, but it is more of a drawing grip, where you use the forefinger to control the pencil. Of course, this varies artist to artist. There are different ways of holding your pencil and rolling your pencil when you do tonality or tonal drawings. Going over your scumbling or your squiggling lines also creates density or darkness or depth or volume in your drawings. We're going to see a few ways of gripping your pencil while you draw. Also, please watch the way I hold my pencil when I draw. Also, please note that I keep rolling my pencil such that the tip of the lead that I use is also pointed, and if it is rubbed, it can be soft. So we do hatching, which are vertical, horizontal lines or diagonal lines, and then cross hatching, where you have crossed them over. They could be crossing of diagonal lines or vertical versus horizontal lines. You could go over it with another set of diagonal lines from both directions. Select the angle of your hand or your wrist that is most comfortable. I'm showing you the drawing of a sphere where a light source has been decided upon, which is the right top corner, and there is a shadow. So the principle is similar while drawing an apple. So we're going to treat the apple like a spheroid shape, and we are going to create a tonality in the drawing. Now let us imagine our object to be spherical or spheroid in shape, and we are going to position that upon our paper. The pencils that we're using here are shading pencils from HB to a darker or softer pencils like 8B. You can also use a sanding board to keep your paper stump or your graphite pencil lead sharp if you require, and you will need an eraser along with it. We may or may not use our stump right now. The aim of this demonstration is to show you how to create an apple without the use of shading, but at the same time create tonality using lines. So you create a block of the shape, roughly more than half of the page, so that your drawing does not look too small and it is neither too big. So you mark the boundaries of the paper. You also mark the center line, which is quite important, very lightly. It can be a very light line or it can be a line in dots and dashes. Then you loosely sketch an outline. The outline need not be a continuous line. It can be a set of short strokes which gives you the right shape that defines the object that you have before you, that you have in mind. Once you're satisfied with the shape, or once you have made certain alterations to your shape, you can go ahead and darken the image. Your darkening the image is always a slow, graded process. I'm drawing a leaf over here. You can also look at the angle of the leaf, the way it is tilted, the kind of light that falls on the leaf, and so on. I'm darkening the outline. Any alterations, if I'm not satisfied with the shape, can be done to the outer form or the contour at this stage. Drawing is a very forgiving process. It is all right to make mistakes or to experiment with your form. Make note of all the important aspects of your drawing at this stage. I plan to have a light source from the top, as a result of which there will be a highlight just below the stalk of the apple, and I'm going to leave that as a highlight, and the highlight, which will be white, will be the part of the paper that I have left out. I'm trying to create a contour, a mesh for my form to understand the three-dimensionality. This means I draw the center line, and the lines on the left will follow the contour of the extreme outline on the left side, and the right half, will carry the contour of the extreme right hand side contour outline. Similarly, when I do the horizontal lines, they will follow the upper contour, and towards the middle line they will become more straight, and the lower portion of the drawing will bear lower half contour, which will be more tilted upwards like this. There's a slight curve in the contour on top, and I try to keep that to understand the form. I hope you can see the mesh. It is also called the wireframe. This helps us understand the form, after which we can do our tonal work. I'm marking out some areas which are the highlights, where I'm not going to do any shading or any drawing of lines, and they are going to remain white, and that is going to appear to give the effect of light bouncing off the surface of the object. Apples have a slight waxy, shiny surface, and we bring that out. That should also be reflected in the leaf, on the table, or any other surface that you want to draw. So on the left side, lower side of the apple is going to be a shadow. The shadow will be oval. The darkest part of the shadow will be immediately below the object, and that will be really dark. Outside it would be a middle shade. Remember, your shadow will not have a very clear outline. Instead, it will be a soft, blurred smudge. I'm going to decide where I'm going to have maximum dark tones, where I want to have mid tones, and where I want to have light tones. If the light falls on the table, it is going to bounce back onto the lower part of the apple, and therefore and the lower part of the apple too. So the middle left side where I'm shading right now is going to be the place where it is going to be maximum dark. Remember the spheroid shading which I showed you. You can erase any unnecessary guidelines if you have, since you've understood the form, and you can use crosshairs to start your sketch. Use your pencil with a mid-distance grip that gives you more control over your pencil. You can change your pencils. We're not doing lines which are using a scale, that kind of straight lines, but the lines we are using are more strokes. These are more artistic strokes and not straight lines like you do with a scale. Even though they may look diagonal, they have a slight natural, loose, artistic effect. Proceed layer by layer or area after area doing the cross hatching. It is always better to go from light to dark because that gives you control over the amount of tonality that you want to bring into your object. Observational drawing is the best, so study a lot of forms and observe forms by keeping them in front of you, which you could do by spreading a cloth, a plain cloth, a neutral colored cloth on a table, placing a certain source of light like a table lamp or an overhead lamp, placing your object on top of it and viewing it carefully, observing it and trying to see how the light falls on the object, gets absorbed or gets reflected from the surface of the object. After laying a base tone, you can start using the softer pencils or the darker lead pencils, slowly, step by step. Again, laying lines, cross hatching, just like we did before. Your cross hatching can be diagonal lines, horizontal lines, vertical lines, curved lines. If you can't handle big lines, you can do short strokes and you can blend the edges of the strokes with medium dense and sparse lines, which will help make a soft effect in your drawing. Otherwise, it will look too stark or too jagged or too sharp in some places. Change your pencils if you want to get a darker effect. Observe your object from arm's length. That is always a good habit. So you understand where you make mistakes, where your object is going out of your plan, and where all you could go on increasing the light and the depths. So grips, please experiment with the different kinds of grips. So you could, it's the way you hold a pencil. You could hold your pencil with an overhand grip, like how I'm showing you. That would be useful for shading, but in this case we are drawing, so there will be a slight modification with which you can do lines. This grip, okay, where there is a little more control, not just with your forefinger and with your thumb, but also a few of the other fingers like your middle finger and your ring finger. The basic rule would be to just experiment with handling your pencil in various ways. Your pencil is your friend. Your pencil is your tool. So learn how to use it best. Be patient with your drawing and go on laying the tones area by area, softly, gently as you go on. Enjoy the process of drawing. Have some music in the background which will soothe you, which will comfort you, and some music which will not hurry you up, which will allow you to take your time to observe and enter all the details of your observation, your own visual noting down of details that you see in your life around you. Art is slowing down. Art is observing. Art is representing. Art is also imagination and creativity. Can you see the tones building up gradually? You might wonder why I don't do the dark shading right away, but I go on building it. This drawing will have a particular quality which a shaded drawing will not have. If you've not observed too many drawings, you will notice this, and you will start noticing even more of this in other drawings over a period of time once you begin to train your eyes towards visual formations like this. Art, training in art, observing details is a gradual step, a gradual practice, like meditation, like any other form of activity where you need practice, you need discipline, you need perseverance. Perseverance means continuing to do something consistently, even if you feel you are not quite succeeding or not getting the expected results. Persevering is to go on attempting without feeling defeated. with interest, with determination, with focus. This entire drawing is going to take us more than 45 minutes. You can draw along with me because that will help you stay focused and see the results. Just as I'm doing it, you can also do it along with me. That is the purpose of slowing down and giving you an entire long step-by-step slow video such that you could also slowly draw, build up the tones, the values along with me, with no hurry, no urgency, no speeding up, no shortcuts. The more we do a few drawings together, the more confident you're going to become to create your own drawings, if there is a hesitation in you. If you already are attempting it, you can just speed up this video and watch it and then start your own drawing, or just notice the areas where I have drawn differently from you. And if you find something worth, you must use it freely. This area, I'm deliberately leaving it a little light because that is the light that is bouncing from the table back to the lower part of the apple. This gives the apple a sort of focal view. You look at only the object, the apple, as if it is a very important piece that is worth drawing, capturing in your artistic manner. That's how you treat every object as an artist. That is how you treat every single visual form in front of you. You look at everything with an observation, with an open mind, and with a very sensitive and receptive mind approach. Did you notice here that I don't really create a sharp outline, but I create a softer outline where the shade blends with the value in the body or the tone in the body, instead of having a dark outline or a clear outline and then having a shade filled inside it. For the darker effects, you can graduate to the softer leads. That is the higher number of the leads in your pencil box, which will be the 6Bs, the 8Bs, or the 12Bs. Now you know the areas where you're going to darken it, so you can apply some pressure. Your lines can be a little more confident because you're used to creating these lines now. Now your form is not going to go wrong. I've used a lot of crosshairs because that suits this particular drawing very well. And crosshairs are very comfortable to draw, very convenient to draw, and they do give you a good effect. As you go on increasing the graphite layers, you will notice that there is a shiny effect on the surface. That is because of the graphite, the quality of the graphite lead. The different kinds of papers that you experiment with, that you use, will give you different results. So you need to experiment with that too. I keep telling you the difference between shading and drawing because I would also be doing some demonstrations on shading very soon for you. So you need to know the difference between drawing tones and shading tones. Although my strokes are going very close to one another, they are not as close as they will be when you do the shading. So these are still lines, even though they are close. Hope you can see that you can go on increasing the value. The shades in your drawing. There will be one area in your form, in the spherical form or in any other shape of combination of geometric forms or man-made objects or natural objects or animals or whatever you are going to use as your object of study. You will notice that there is a range of tonality from light, medium and dark. The more you observe that, the more realistic and three-dimensional your object is going to look. Your study is going to look. I hope you have noticed that I'm using lines of all directions and I'm bringing the tone gradually, layer by layer, building up the layers, building up the mesh or building up the shades, the dark effect very gradually. If you do a slow work, there is no room for errors. You can work and rework. And you can blend any hard edges, any visible lines with medium tones, like I'm doing right now. Every time next to a dark set of lines, I build a medium set of lines that helps me tone down and also reduce the roundness or the volume of a work. So that is blending as we are doing in this case. So it's not too dark and it's not too light. Now I'm trying to build a little more of the roundness by using contour shading lines. The more you use these directional lines or contour lines, the more you're going to get the form that you wish to represent. I still haven't used an eraser because I don't need to use an eraser for showing the lights because I have built up the tones gradually. When you do the drawing of a transparent object, you will find this technique very useful because there again you leave a lot of areas white to show transparency instead of shading it first and then removing the shades or adding white on top of it. But of course, the treatment varies media to media. Even a small stalk like this apple stalk requires a treatment of three-dimensionality like we do for any realistic work. I hope you can admire the stalk. I keep going all over the surface of the form because I dwell not area by area on the form but over the entire form, taking in the totality of the form and the little details or the particularity of a particular area that I'm working upon. This is my way of doing it and this is my habit that I have developed. You would like to use it, you would like to create it your own way, and that is perfectly all right. As long as you're enjoying it. You may want to do it area by area. That is also perfectly fine. That depicts your nature. As I change the pencil, more of the darker tones are getting visible. And more of the three-dimensionality in the form is emerging. I reduce the tonality, the lights. Red cherries, red berries, tomatoes, apples. These are really good subjects for studying. As I work on the shadow part, it's going to make an impact on this particular part of the apple. When you do your observational drawing, you will notice these aspects, that the undermost part of the object is often the darkest. That also helps ground the object. That is, it doesn't look like it's floating, but it rests upon the surface or the ground that you've placed it on. This tonal study will help you a lot in your subsequent shading exercises of drapery, of animal studies, nature studies, on the spot or outdoor studies, and so on. There is a particular convenient angle of your wrist. So sometimes if you have a free drawing, a drawing which is on a paper or a book which you can turn or move around or rotate, you can shift it to the angle of your convenience. Which you can't do when you're on a drawing board or a drafting board. Even if it is a small leaf, if you observe carefully, you will see a lot of light readings on the surface, which means there will be some highlights, some midtones, some dark tones, some reflected areas of light. The bold strokes of the apple are now replaced by very small, short hairs, short strokes. And I'm using a more blunt pencil right now than a sharp pencil, which will give me very stark lines. I want to blend the shades, the pencil over here a little more carefully. Instead of creating an outline for the leaf, I also do the shading of the apple, which depicts the shadow under the leaf, and that makes it look very natural, more effective than creating a sharp outline for the leaf. I hope you make note of this point, that you don't create any outlines, any disturbing outlines. Instead, use soft, medium, sparse, medium, dense lines, or light, medium, and dark pressure lines in your drawing. I can assure you that if you've done one drawing like this with great effort and detail, your talent, your ability, and your skills will improve immensely. Observe the minutest details once you've completed the capturing of the tones. When you do the shadow, I try to use the surface of the ground. So I use more horizontal lines initially to depict the surface of the table or the ground on which it is kept. And you can then go over with medium lines and then with hatching, cross-hatched lines. I'm still using lines, I'm not using shades. These are cross-hatched lines, and I pay attention to the detail of where the shadow meets the object, because that area is the densest or the darkest, although there is a slight reflected highlight just near the maximum shaded area. This actually follows a principle of light and dark alternate. So where there is a dark shading, you will remember that the place next to it is a light area. Light and dark alternate. Remember this. It is a theory or a principle. When I do the crosshatch, naturally there is more dark density in the shaded area. We will do grade scales, understand gradation or gradual increase of soft shading or tonality. And there you would follow a grade scale of 0 to 5 or 0 to 10 and slowly build up your appreciation for the numbers of the tonality in your drawing. The more the number of shades, the more realistic your work is going to look. We're nearly done. Leaving out the highlight, you can intensify or create or add any finishing touches. Sometimes your apple may have your object may have a few peculiarities that will distinguish it from other similar objects. Like this apple may have a scar or a few dots or something that identifies it from the other apples. So this is the time to add those details than going into fixing all those little details right in the beginning. So you look at the overall form, then you look at the tonality, then you use a particular technique, and then you build up layers, then you go into contours, little details of registering the light, and then you depict any peculiarities of that particular object in front of you. You remember to blend in all the areas so that it doesn't look, so that it looks natural, so that it doesn't look artificial or unnatural. Everything is quite blended and soft in nature. If I have taken more than 45 minutes to create the drawing of an apple, you should try something similar if you have not done with me, and forget the drawing and look at it tomorrow and see it with others. And that's when you will begin to notice a lot of things about your work. This is a very important part of drawing, of creating art, which is sharing your work. You may notice that you actually require a lot of time for details, for finishing, and you may almost not be satisfied with your drawing, which is why you stop somewhere and you put your signature and you put a date next to it and you call your work done. I hope you've had a good learning. I hope you found this demonstration, this video interesting. I had a lot of light on top, which is why the upper left corner is glistening with the graphite. So I'm shading it and showing it to you that it is quite dark on the top. But I will also leave a still photo for you to see at the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with me. Bye-bye.